Hello again, and welcome back to the sixth video of Chapter 3. We are on page 11 in your notes, and we have 4 1/3 minus 2 3/5. Now, I'm going to work through two methods here. One I think is much easier than the other, and I'm going to show you the easier way first. That's the method I would suggest you learn. I think your life will be a lot easier if you did that. And then I'll show you the other way if you insist on trying to figure that out. You can make that decision yourself. But let's go right into things here. And we get rid of that. There we go. 4 1/3 minus 2 3/5. Well, the easiest way I believe to do subtraction with fractions, or with mixed numbers, is to just change it to improper. Okay, 4 times 3 plus 1 is 13/3. All right, you do the same thing for the bottom number. What you have here is you have two fractions now, 13/3 minus 3/5. And in order to do that, get your common denominator, which is 15. This should all be review for us by now, hopefully. There's your 15, and there's your 65. Now what you're going to do is you're going to subtract, basically, 65 minus 39, because remember, you'll subtract the numerators to get your new numerator. And that's 26. Remember, keep the denominator the same. And then the mixed number is really your best answer. The way I grade on tests is if it asks you specifically for a mixed number and you don't do that, I will take off. If it does not ask you specifically, I will take either of those two answers. Only thing is, it does have to be reduced, and both of these answers are reduced or simplified there. So 26/15 or 11/15. That's the easiest way to do this problem, I think, and I think you should just do subtraction that way. Here's why. Let's look at what happens if I try to do this question the other way. And I have to switch over to my writing program here. It'll be a little easier for me. Well, the other method was where we went, I don't know if this will show up or not. It's kind of a highlighter looking thing, where we took that 1/3 and 3/5, and we're going to try to subtract that first. Okay, so essentially what we'd be doing is taking 1/3 minus 3/5. If you watched the addition video, you saw that there were times where adding the fractions and then adding the whole numbers was a lot easier. Subtraction, not so much. Sometimes it can, but most of the time you're going to run into this headache I'm about to show you. Here, you have 1/3 and 3/5. Well, you got to do common denominator, right? So it's 15. So we go through that process and we say 3 times what is 15? That's 5. 5 times 1 is 5. Okay, so we've got that, and then we have to do the same thing for 3/5. So if I did that for 3/5, we'd multiply that 5 by 3 and get 9/15. All right, great. So the 1/3 became 5/15. Minus the 3/5 became 9/15. And now you might see the problem. The problem is that 5 is less than 9. You can't take 9 away from 5. It's a negative number, it'd be -4, and we're not doing that yet. We're not dealing with that. So if you wanted to finish the problem this way, this is what you would have to do. You'd have to go back to your original problem and realize that you had 4 wholes. Okay, 4 whole values and 1/3, and then we determined that the 1/3 is really just 5/15, which is the way we need to use it in this problem. So you can think of 4 and 1/3. You can think of it as 4 and 5/15. So what we have to do is we have to manipulate this numerator, this 5, so that it's larger than this 9. And this is what has to happen. You actually have to borrow from the 4, making that 3 plus 1 plus 5/15. Now before you get too confused and say, what in the world? 3 plus 1 is 4. So I just am thinking it's 3 and 1 as 4 there. But this is why you have to do that. I'm going to ignore the 3 for a moment and show you this 1. Remember, 1 can be rewritten as any fractional number as far as the values of the numerator and the denominator are equal. So since this is out of 15, which I found up here, and I found over here, remember that means it takes 15 to make 1. Okay, I'm going to change that 1 to 15 over 15. Again, that value is just 1. So I'm going to add that into this fractional value of 5/15. And that would give me 20/15. Now remember, to get this one, I took 1 away from this 4 here to get that 3. So what I've done basically is I've changed the 4 in the original problem to 3. I borrowed a whole, and then I changed the 1/3 into 20/15. Okay? Now if I look back to here, remember, you're taking away 9/15. Well, we don't want to change that because the goal of doing all that was to make this number larger than the 9. All right, now if we did that, we would go ahead and subtract this. So if we look back at the original problem, the 3/5, that's 9/15. And so now you have 20/15. 20 minus 9, there's your 11/15. And now you have 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 and 11/15. That's the same value we got in the previous question. So you can see that's, until you really get your head around it, it's a little bit confusing because you'll have to borrow from that whole number and change the fraction. Anytime the first number, the value that's being subtracted from, anytime that's larger than the number being subtracted, you have to do that. So do what you will, but I would suggest you just kind of focus on that other method. And I'm going to show you next just the first method of the next slide, which is the top of page 12. So if I get back into my PowerPoint here, I'm going to talk you through this question here. 2 1/6 minus 1 1/5. It would work out like this. Change it to an improper fraction. 2 times 6 plus 1 is 13. Same thing for the second number of 1 1/5. It's 6/5. Great. Common denominator, 30. All right, so what I did here, 6 times 5, 13 times 5. 65/30. Down here I went that times 6, and I went that times 5. I'm sorry, that times 6 as well. It's 36. All right, now remember we're subtracting, so I'm just going to take 65 minus 36. You got to figure that out. It's 29. Denominator's 30. You're done there because that number cannot be written as a mixed number because the numerator is less than the denominator. So again, if you really want to see how to do this the other way, maybe you could try it and bring it to class and we could look at it and see if you can get it to work out to be 29/30. If it doesn't work out and you want to know, I'll show you in our working time in class together for you. So that's subtraction. So this addition and subtraction, these two videos that we just went through, you'll probably want to spend some time in and reviewing if you're having trouble with your homework from there. So thanks.